areas see or without immigration pressure in the east, which is also demographic decline. The most modern technical equipment for controlling peoples is employed. The European Union has created a series of organizations, Frontex, CIREF, CIVE, and spends billions of euros to defend these borders and control these borders. Third, the long frontiers where immigration pressure is very high and no natural barriers exist, this new Iron Curtain comes to the fore, and you can see it readily in Ceuta and Melilla in Morocco, but also in the hyper border, as what's called between Mexico and USA. We have seen it a little bit before. Fourth, border control is extended to countries and regions outside the EU by implementing treaties with neighbor states. So the EU and North African states, Morocco, Libya, Algeria, Egypt, but also individual states like Italy and Libya have concluded treaties which oblige the North African states to control already on their side immigration from south of Africa. And they have established huge concentration camps. It's known that in Algeria, maybe in some other countries as well, Libya, these concentration camps are far away from any regard of human rights. Finally, within the whole EU, an extended system of supervision and control of suspected persons is established. If you go somewhere in the European Union without a passport or so, you are in danger of becoming imprisoned immediately, and even more if you do not have a white color of skin. So we had a sociological conference in Lisbon last week. And before this conference, I went to Morocco to see this frontier around the Spanish enclave Ceuta. And I made these photos myself. It was very interesting. You see, it's a huge wall with two fences, about 10 meters high. In the middle, the police can come immediately. In the night, it is lighted. There are electronic controls and so on. So it's nearly impossible to go over this wall. Another perspective. And this is also very interesting. Near the wall, a very new road has been built, 10 meters large, only for control of the wall. So you see, except the vehiculos oficiales, I was there with a friend from Germany, we left our Moroccan car there and went up the street walking. After, say, 500 meters, a police car came stopping, asking for our passport, asking what are we doing. We said, yes, we are looking at this wall here. They were rather friendly, however. Then we spoke about them, asking if how many refugees are coming. He said, practically no. And I was also surprised that for me it was so easy to go there. But at the conference, two young Germans I met said they went on the other side to this wall at Ceuta, and it was impossible for them to come to the wall because Moroccan military and police was there posted at every 100 meters, so you have not to go there. So now Moroccan military and police is controlling effectively the refugees. Another aspect, more invisible, is the granting of visas as a means to keep away unwanted persons and control immigration into the rich countries. The obligation to carry passports and obtain visas for travels over borders has been established only during First World War II. Around 1900, you go wherever in Europe without any passport. And it's interesting why it has been established. First, to impede the escape of men obliged to military service. For instance, in Italy, more than 1 million men escaped military service in the First World War. So that was a huge issue. And the other way was to keep away spies from one's own country. Application for visas is possible only at foreign consulates by personal application. Must go there in person, nobody else can take it. Don't do it. The process of granting a visa takes 4 to 5 months. It's a very long bureaucratic procedure. If a small thing is missing on your documents, you are said, come back in a month. If you come back, the same is said. So for people who do not read very well, it's nearly impossible. A visa can only be provided, and I think this is rather similar in all European countries, if it's proof that you have a stable employment with your home country, proof a valid social insurance, and a bank statement showing the last 3 months' receipts that you got from your employer. Then you have to make a travel insurance covering costs of 30,000 euros. And these requirements are valid in most European states for about 150 states of the world. That is, 3/4 of the citizens of the world are not allowed to enter easily into the European Union. So we can say globally, as Sigmund Baumann has said, a global hierarchy of mobility exists. Okay, I am not so naive to say that we could eradicate the wall. I would say the wall is necessary maybe at the present moment, but in terms of medicine we would say a wall is a symptom or cures only a symptom, but the basic problem is the high differences in level of living between different parts of the world and the extreme poverty in the third world. So, nevertheless, I think the European Union and the European countries can do a lot to make the wall maybe in some decades not more necessary. First, I think Europe must cope its imperial role. Europe has an imperial role, and it must play this out, but it must make clear what is the vision of the European Union. It should not be, and I think it is not, the vision to develop a very large and powerful army, as the United States have. But it must be a vision that Europe becomes a kind of a civil power which really looks for the preservation of human rights, of democracy and so on. That's the problem, quite problematic now in many countries of North Africa, Middle East and so on, with which the European Union has treaties. I think in relation to China, this is also a very difficult issue the European Union has to cope. A second general point is it must be recognized that Africa has a central importance for Europe for the future. First, Europe has now about 500 million inhabitants, Africa 900 billions. In a few decades, Africa will have 2 billion. That will have as much as 4 times the number of inhabitants in Europe. And also the economic perspectives of Africa are not very positive. It was the only region in the world which was not able in the last 10-20 decades to grow significantly. A German social scientist, Gunnar Heinzson, has written a book where he shows that in international migration, but also in political unrest, terrorism and wars, it's mostly young men between 20 and 35 or 40 years of age who take the lead. Second, that's already been said, the economic split between Africa and Europe is one of the deepest in the world, leading to an immense immigration and immigration pressure. Finally, measures must also be taken to reduce the need of Europe in Africa, to make it more clear to the African people that not only is that good in Europe and that the possibilities for getting employment in particular are very difficult. But maybe also in Europe we need to learn much more about Africa. If there is any sociological conference, there is practically no participant from Africa, maybe 2 or 3 among 2,000 or 3,000 participants. Next, or finally, we have to invent new forms of development for the poorest countries. We have to make much more systematic research on the reasons for immigrations in border regions. We have to develop economic development aid both in traditional forms and in new forms. Direct financial aid to central and local governments, but with the control of the use of this money, collaboration of European organizations and experts, in development projects in Africa. We should take many more African students and say engineers, doctors to Europe, bring them back and so on. That's the other point, exchange of peoples and workers. Finally, we must also do much more in analyzing and handling social and health problems in Africa, with particular focus on sexual behavior and family planning related to the AIDS virus, the high mortality. The last point, I think there are some facts which make it not impossible or naive to assume that the progress can be made. First, immigration is always an option only for rather small groups of the population. Even in the poorest countries, not all want to immigrate. Then in the accepting countries, immigrants are always a minority. In most European member countries, between 5 and 7% are immigrants. In Switzerland 25%, in Austria 9%. Then back migration is into the countries of origin is considerable in all periods. Just an example, Italians who emigrated to the United States around 1900, 60% returned to Italy later. And finally, migration has become a highly differentiated process connected closely with globalization, and migrants see themselves increasingly as a part of a global labor market. So this is also a problem that must be solved on a global basis. Thank you very much.
Una relazione molto densa.